For the past 30 years, factory farming has replaced most family-operated farms and significantly grown to take over the agriculture industry. With the evolution of new technology and scientific discoveries, agriculturists found ways to increase yield, decrease costs of production, and sustain productivity. Their goal is to produce large amounts of livestock for a cheap price to keep up with the high demand for product and feed our continuously increasing human population. Unfortunately, it has been at the expense of our environment and has led to the suffering of many Americans and their health. The primary sources of factory farm pollution are animal waste and agricultural chemicals. These sources spread through land, water, and air and eventually end up ingested or consumed by the human population. In turn, it has led to foodborne illnesses and infections and other serious health problems such as cardiovascular, respiratory, and degenerative diseases and neurological damage. In my research, I use print, electronic, and empirical resources to gather credible information. I utilize the University of Minnesota online libraries to obtain scholarly print articles, the internet to access several newspaper and environmental organization websites, national research studies from the Environmental Protection Agency and Center of Disease Control and Prevention, and empirical reports from the National Commission of Industrial Farm Animal Production. From these resources, I was able to find important facts, statistics, and examples, as well as charts and graphs to support the ideas presented in the text. To determine my resources' credibility, I annotated each one and felt my resources met the standard criteria I set out with and were valuable in addressing my topic issue. In order to make progress in my analysis research, I stuck to my Gantt chart schedule. With laid out task timeframes and due dates, it held me accountable throughout my research process and it kept me on track. Industrial farm operations contain thousands of animals in a small area, and they generate an enormous amount of manure. According to Warren Bronnig's article, the industry produces 500 million tons of waste each year, which is at least 3 times more than the volume of human waste. In the Cesspools of Shame report, it states waste produced by the livestock is collected and stored in open-air lagoons, which can be as big as 6 to 7.5 acres, containing 20 to 45 million gallons of wastewater. These large lagoons or cesspools dangerously impact water quality through surface runoff and erosion, direct discharges of waste, spills, and poor weather conditions. Farmers use the untreated waste from these cesspools as fertilizer for crop fields that feed the livestock that humans consume. Because manure is over-applied on factory farms, excess waste infects surface and groundwater and emits dangerous gases. Factory farms give off numerous kinds of pathogens that flow into water supplies. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's National Water Quality Inventory Report displays data collected from water contamination assessments in 44 states. Statistics showed agriculture activities as the number one source out of the top 10 sources of impaired rivers and streams, and pathogens, like fecal matter, as the top cause of impaired rivers and streams. Producers rely heavily on synthetic pesticides to kill organisms that inhibit the growth of livestock food. Furthermore, industrial operations routinely feed their livestock a wide range of antibiotics and hormones to promote faster growth and prevent the spread of disease. In Halden's Environmental Impact of Industrial Farm Animal Production report, it says animal farming is estimated to account for 37% of nationwide pesticide usage and 80% of all antibiotic usage in the United States. Animal waste is liable for a vast array of medical issues. Cesspools and spray fields generate a huge amount of air pollution into the environment and into the lungs of countless human beings. The report, Putting Meat on the Table, by John Carlin, included a U.S. greenhouse gas inventory displaying data on the types of greenhouse gases emitted and the massive quantities of each gas that are released into the atmosphere from different agriculture sources. Lagoon emissions, like methane and hydrogen sulfide, can result in respiratory and neurological problems among residents living nearby and factory farm workers. Continuous exposure to these greenhouse gases can cause nausea, headaches, coughing, eye, nose, and throat irritation, seizures, and potentially death. Air pollutants have also contributed to brain damage, depression, and anxiety, as well as birth defects and premature deaths. Agricultural chemicals from livestock farms are also perpetrators of different illnesses and diseases found in the human population. According to Centers for Disease Control, each year roughly 1 in 6 Americans, or 48 million people, get sick, 128,000 are hospitalized, and 3,000 die of foodborne illnesses. Chemicals from industrial farms lead to pathogenic bacterial, viral, and parasitic diseases like E. coli, salmonella, and norovirus. These illnesses cause severe stomach pain, vomiting, fevers, and in serious cases, death. Factory farm methods are behind the development of antibiotic resistance in bacteria species as well. Antibiotics added to livestock feed to counteract their sicknesses in confinement persist, so as consumers of these animals, we directly ingest these antibiotics and it makes human infections much more difficult to treat. From our research, we can conclude that factory farm pollution is detrimental to Americans' health and we must take action to solve it. Our nation's environmental laws are outdated and they remain largely exempt from emissions regulations. By adopting reflexive law policies, laws that require public disclosure of raw data, warnings, and labels would have a shaming effect on polluters while enabling consumers and businesses to disengage with polluting industries and support for environmentally friendly companies. The New York Law Review article reveals our federal government has some of the least enforced and effective standards in the terms of factory farm pollution, and state and local governments aren't too much better due to the lack of enforcement. By implementing stricter, more concise laws, the government can establish safer and healthier emission, pesticide, and antibiotic yields on livestock industrial operations. Moreover, the government needs to execute whistleblower investigations, often to police the industry, and violators of the laws need to be punished to the fullest extent to send a strong message. As consumers of factory farm livestock, we can take it into our own hands to limit our purchases of their products and change our eating habits. Better educating ourselves on the products by doing research and asking questions would make us extra aware and cautious of what we are buying and whom we are buying from. As the world leader in meat consumption, by teaching ourselves to cut back on meat, we can ultimately alter the way the industry operates. As you can see, factory farming pollution and the medical effects it has on human population is a huge problem in our society. I hope you all learned a great deal from my presentation and take into consideration what needs to be done to diminish the detrimental issue. Thank you.